Hello there, and many thanks for joining us on this edition of the program. I am Imonia Marere. We do apologize for coming to you a few minutes behind schedule. On Monday's edition of the program, we discussed what was then a brewing conflict between Israel and the Hamas, a Palestinian fundamentalist militant group in the Gaza Strip. Hamas had last Saturday carried out an unprovoked surprise attack on Israel, during which it killed scores of people, including women and children, while taking hostage over 100 others. A number of other nationals, among them 27 Americans, German and other tourists, were also killed in the attack, which shocked the global community. Since then, the situation has degenerated as Israel has declared a full-scale war in response to that attack with relentless missile bombardments of the Gaza Strip, supposedly in pursuit of Hamas militants. It has reduced parts of the densely populated Gaza Strip to almost rubble. After 6 days of intense bombings, Israel is preparing to send in ground troops to clear out what may be left of the Hamas group. Innocent civilians, women and children have unfortunately been most affected, with over 1,500 killed and thousands more wounded and displaced. To date, over 6,000 bombs have been dropped in Gaza. Israeli casualties have also been mounting. At least 1,300 have been reported killed so far. There is also the danger of the conflict descending into a major regional war, given the support that both sides are beginning to garner from other traditional allies around the world. But even more worrisome is the catastrophic humanitarian crisis that is unfolding in the Gaza Strip, with water, food, fuel, electricity, medical and other supplies cut off. All borders have also been sealed, not allowing people to flee. Now, pleased by the United Nations and even the European Union to allow humanitarian access to the people in the Gaza Strip has also so far gone unheeded. It is a precarious situation. Israeli forces have this morning announced that 1.1 million people located in the north of Gaza must move to the south within 24 hours to pave way for a ground assault. The UN says it is impossible to evacuate that many people in such a short time. On Monday, we hosted the Israeli ambassador to Nigeria, Michael Freeman. On the program today, we are joined by the ambassador of Palestine to Nigeria, Abdullah Abu Shawish. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. We're also joining us to provide some global perspective to the unfolding situation is Ambassador Ayo Olukoni, former Nigerian ambassador to Australia, who served in Tel Aviv, the Israeli capital, for 4 years. Ambassador Olukoni, thank you so much for finding time to join us.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I feel honored.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Well, let's begin this way. Begin with the very latest situation in the Gaza Strip. As of this morning, the Israeli forces have ordered that about 1.1 million people be evacuated from the south, from the north to the south of the country. And the UN is saying that with 24 hours is hardly enough to move, to evacuate that number of persons. Now, what from the perspective of your country, Palestine, what is the situation?
Thank you so much indeed for having me today again. But before I start, shed light on the current situation, it is very important because you are putting in a propriety or introduction a report or to summarize the issue, and part of it, unfortunately, from our point of view, is completely not fair. As if the issue just wrapped up or started just last Saturday, which is completely not true. There is an Israeli occupation since 56 years ago, occupying the Palestinian people, humiliating the Palestinian people, demolishing their homes, expelling them, executing them, jailed them, and all of these. Not only 56 years ago, just 75 years ago, when the Israeli gangs succeeded to uprooted us from our historical land, to ethnically cleanse the Palestinian people from their homeland. Why everyone would like us to start just measuring the issue as if it is, if we woke up just last Saturday and there is something happened, 24 hours just before Saturday, last Friday, 7 Palestinians was slain, killed. Why no one would like to remember them? It's from the beginning of this year till the last Friday, when we went to bed last Friday, 252 Palestinians was killed, assassinated. Part of them assassinated before the cameras. 2.5-year-old Muhammad al-Tamimi, 2.5-year-old was snapped. Why no one would like to remember all of these people? Is there different type of blood in this world? Is there blue blood and regular blood? Is there a supremacy of the people that those people is super to more than, or their life is valid than the Palestinian people? This is the point. We all, as a human community, need to take a deep look to the root of the issue. This is the principle. When you go to solve any problem, even with any place, when you want to solve any problem in a company, in a political issue, you need to dig a bit about the roots of this problem. Otherwise, you're gonna give just some painkiller to this pain, which is not true, which is not fair, which is not sustainable. There is a root for this problem. The Palestinians nearly completely uprooted from their historical homeland in 1948. The remaining part of the Palestinians fallen under the Israeli occupation in 1967. 60% of the Palestinians living in the diaspora. No one can have the right to back to his, or even to any place on Palestine. This is the fact. Beside other tens of facts, I'm pretty sure His Excellency who served in Israel, knowing all of these facts. And this is the essence of the issue, not just last Saturday. It's not true. It's not sustainable. As an international community, we should light on the essence of the issue, on the basics, on the roots of the problem. Also, when in your report mentioned, part of them is American citizen, 7 million Jews living in America. The majority of them have the Israeli citizen. Majority of them, a lot of them, is serving in the Israeli occupation army. Is this mean that because they are an American, so that no one should get close to them? I'm gonna give you 3 examples of the American people. 3 examples. The first one is Baruch Goldstein. Baruch Goldstein is American Jewish citizen. He born in America, learned in America, came to Palestine, bringing his automatic rifle in 1993, and conducted a massacre against the Palestinian worshipper, the Muslims. The American citizen, Jewish American Israeli citizen, conducted a massacre, killed 29 Palestinian, innocent Palestinian worshippers. Why this should completely neglected? Another example, another very bad example. Even the Americans say that it is a very bad example. Meir Kahane, another American citizen, another American born in America, carrying the American citizen. He's a Jew. He's a very fanatic Jew. He's a very radical Jew. His lessons till today, we are executing according to his beliefs and lessons that he spread long time ago. Then why no one would like to shed light on this exact American criminal man? Shireen Abu Akleh, your colleagues, you as a journalist, you have a colleague, Christian, Muslim, a Christian Palestinian woman. She was assassinated, snapped, just 1.5 years ago. No one would like to shed light in this American Christian Palestinian woman. This is the point. So that when it came to the nationality, every human, we should stress, and all of us stand very strong, especially you in Africa, to stand very strong, to say every human life is matter. No matter whether he's black or white, blue eyes or yellow hair. Every human life is matter. Will it be different if he's an African one? No, just tell me.
Ambassador, I can assure you that
this is to shed light in 2 points in your very wide report. But again, regarding what is running currently in the ground in Gaza, yes, the Minister of War, the Minister of the Israeli army, Gallant, was declared it 4 days ago that we are fighting against human animals. Could you imagine? He regretted, considering the Palestinian 2.2 million in Gaza human animals. This is a criminal according to the international law. This is a preparation for a genocide that is running right now. There is a genocide running right now in Gaza. Heavy bombarding, tens of tons, thousands of tons of bombs that thrown on the refugee camps. 70% of the Palestinian inhabitant in Gaza is a refugee. Gaza is only 365 kilometers. Could you imagine containing in this very tiny place 2.2 million human beings? Then they call for forcefully to displace the people. Approximately half of them, 50%. Could you imagine? He wants to move the population from in this very tiny and densely place to go to the south. This is a criminal. This is a crime against humanity. This is a genocide. This is something we should all stand firm. Not focusing that this group is the problem in Hamas or X or Y of the Palestinian group. This is not true. Israel on an open war against the Palestinian people since 75 years ago. This is the truth. This is the reality that everyone should be fully aware of it.
Yeah, Ambassador, we are not unmindful of the historical genesis.
Thank you so much.
Of this crisis, of this conflict that dates back to 1948.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Could I come in this very particular issue? No one will shed light of all of from the media. I mean, the international media will not allow anyone to know about history. Everyone would like us to start as if this just erupted or started just 5 days ago. It's not true. There is a wide history behind that. The Israeli gangs, the Jewish gangs conducting 52 massacres against the Palestinian people before 1948. Do you know about that? Anyone know about that? No one. And you will not be able to know about that because we did not have the ability to go on the media platform, on the media outlet to tell our part of this tragedy. In every book, 2 chapters. Just take a look to our narrative. And open your eyes, open your heart to listen to us, then judge it. But to start just as if we went to sleep last Friday and everything is okay. No, 7 Palestinians was slain, 7 Palestinians was killed just last Friday.
All right.
Less than 24 hours before this.
Ambassador, like I said, we are not mindful of the historical background of what has happened. Right. Now, but the Israelis say they are fighting against Hamas. Hamas is a group. It's not the Palestinian Authority. So in effect, they are actually not fighting against the Palestinian Authority. They are fighting against the Hamas group, which is a militant group. Now, I do know that the Palestinian Authority does not endorse everything that Hamas does, which is where I want you to come in. Where exactly does the Palestinian Authority stand in this particular situation?
Again, very important 2 points. I need to shed light on it. just to back to your to cover your question, Israel, the Israeli occupation, and before the Israeli occupation, could you find or could you name just one of the occupier all around the world that a lot of people, a lot of nation was under the colonial and foreign occupation? Could you name just one of those colonial and foreign occupation calling their resistant as a freedom fighter? All of them. They used to call them terrorist, anarchist, and civilian, and to the end list of this to the end list of these names. This is very important. So Israel is classifying us. If you are using a military fire against them, then you are terrorist. If you are like President Mahmoud Abbas, who's day and night calling for a peaceful solution, you are a terrorist diplomat. President Mahmoud Abbas, declassifying him as a terrorist diplomat. If you are a foreigner, you in person, if you dare to raise your voice to criticize the Israeli occupation right now, you are anti-Semitism. You are anti-Semite. And if you are a Jew and they criticize the Israeli occupation, and there is tens of Jews whom has put themselves, aligned themselves with us, you are a hate self Jew. Come on. These are classifications that all the occupier, all the countries from the north whom is occupying us and the south used to classify and this is of course to justify their genocide against the people, to justify their war against them. But Israel again, it's not target. Could you believe that at 2.5 the people in Gaza is under siege since 2007? Do you think all of those people is carrying or all of them is Hamas? They are all of them. The majority of them is not Hamas. Under the Israeli siege, when he blockaded Gaza, when he announced that we are fighting against human animals. Could anyone in the world can imagine that he's describing 2.2 million as a human animals? He cut off completely, as you rightly mentioned, he cut off the water, electricity, fuel, food, medical supply. We are short of medical supply. Let me give you something very important in this. Very emotional, but very human issue. I'm like you, a human being. My family in Gaza. I'm a refugee in Gaza. Since 3 days, I did not have since 2 days, I did not have the opportunity to reach out to them. I'm not pretty sure whether they're alive or not alive, whether my home there in Gaza is a stand or not a stand. You need, as African people in particular, as a decent people, to take another look to this issue. Please take another look. We are all in the same boat.
Ambassador, how much control or influence does the Palestinian Authority have over non-state actors as the Hamas?
Again, the Palestinian Authority is the daughter or the son of what we call it, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which is recognized all around the world as the legitimate, even by the Israelis. When we signed the Oslo Accord, Israel recognized the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, as the legitimate and sole representative of the Palestinian people. So when it came to the international arena, we have the father, we have the godfather called Palestinian Liberation Organization.
PLO.
This PLO, period. Here in Nigeria, how many one is not aligned with the government? Could not accepted the government policy? You're gonna find many of them, yes or not. This is regular in any democracy. You're gonna find someone aligning with himself with the official government, and others is going against it. This is what is happening. We, like every other people, every other nation all around the world, some is aligning themselves. Part of us is aligning themselves with President Abbas' policy, and others is going against him, which is their absolute right to go against him. We did not criticize this.
So what you say in effect is that Israel is visiting the sins of Hamas on the entire populace of
I did not get your...
no, what we're saying right now is that the sins of Hamas, which is not a government organization, which is a non-state actor, is the scenes are being visited on the rest of the Palestinians who are in the Gaza Strip
No,
by the Israelis.
no. Israel is attacking Gaza Strip.
Yes, that's
in
what I'm
all
saying.
entire.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And when they shoot a bomb, do you think this bomb will differentiate between X and Y? This is a bomb. Heavy, some of it is come with 2 and 3 tons. Do you think it will differentiate between the people? It will differentiate between whether he's a woman, a man, elderly, child? This is a war against the Palestinian people. Stop, and we should all be aware. When it came to Gaza Strip, because I'm from there, I born there in a refugee camp. We are living in a very dense place. It's not Nigeria by the end of the day. I got forbidden, of course, to face this issue, Nigeria and any other country all around the world. The issue is we are living side by side between each other. They bombing everywhere. I appeal to all of you and to all your audience, just to stop listening to the Western media, to the propaganda. The propaganda is killing us. It's completely blinding the people. Just 3 days ago, President Biden himself followed this propaganda. Then 2 days ago, the White House retracted from it when he mentioned that he come to watch videos that the Palestinians cut the head of children. It's not true. Then they retract from it. The White House retreated from this issue. We cannot accept it, that every human being. Life is matter. Again, there is a lot of propaganda spread on the social media, spread on the media. And let us be very frank, they are very professional when it came to the artificial intelligence. So that we gonna,
some of
please,
those reports
yes,
are beginning
we know that,
to be
yes, we know that.
categorized as fake.
Yes, anyone could spread the video that when some of the Hamas people was, if they have the ability to free a Israeli woman and her 2 children. Anyone see this video? Anyone all around the world saw this video? No one. And no one will see it. And it will be dropped from the social media very soon. Anyone of the world saw the video that one of the Israeli women is talking that they invaded, they entered to her house, then she told them that I have 2 children. I'm gonna share it with you if you allow me, of course. I'm gonna share this video with you. They told her, we are not here to kill you or to kill your child. That's it. It's very big. She mentioned something like this, but this video will not be spread. I'm gonna tell you another example. Gilad Shalit, 5 years spent in Gaza. You know about the story of Gilad Shalit. Did you know that, or anyone dare to go to Gilad Shalit to meet him and to interview him? They will not allow anyone to interview Gilad Shalit for a very simple reason. He will say something decent regarding the Palestinian people, and they will not allow him to do something like this. Just one interview for Gilad Shalit, one interview for Gilad Shalit will not happen, and does not happen, and will not happen.
Okay, Ambassador, let's bring in Ambassador Ayo Olukoni, who is joining us virtually from Lagos. Ambassador, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure that you have followed the trend of events in the last 6 days. You have listened to the Palestinian ambassador here. Let's first get your take on the developments in that part of the world.
Thank you very much, Benga.
This is Imoni.
I sincerely hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Let me start with this. I think all efforts by the international community, the United Nations, and the entire, I can say, human race should now be geared towards silencing the guns so that discussions can start on how to attain peace and also deal with the humanitarian crisis which we are witnessing. A crisis of untold proportion, in which the laws of war, humanitarian laws of war, have been, of course, violated by the 2 sides. I repeat, this is what should be the primary concern, the primary issue now, in terms of the question and issues of silencing the gun. And then let us go back to start working, especially for the two-state solution as envisioned under the Oslo Peace Accord, because that is a very key and very important aspect of the question and the issues of justice for the Palestinians. Until we have a Palestinian state, even if demilitarized, there will be no peace in that place. So I thought I should say that, so that in all the conversation that is going on at the national level, AIT and others, why are we discussing? We're discussing to be able to silence the guns. Once the guns are silenced, then the humanitarian issues, of course, can of course come on board so that we can, help to arrest the crisis and take care of the question and crisis in Gaza, and also, of course, on the Israeli side. A few hours ago, I spoke to our ambassador in Tel Aviv, who, of course, the past few days, they've been in the bomb shelter. He said they are out now. The sirens have not sounded. When the sirens sound, they will go back, of course. Then I also spoke to a very close elderly friend of mine who runs, a tour company. He said, I said, how are you? He said, yes, they're fine. Things are quiet for now. But of course, they're not sure what will happen. So I thought I should say this so that we can let us agree on why this discussion that we are having in terms of the question of what's to be done now to end this crisis and then move forward.
Yeah, Ambassador, before you proceed, let me ask you this question. You have advocated that there should be the silencing of the guns. The big question is, how do we get that to happen? With the kind of the kind of inflamed passions that we have in that part of the world right now.
Let me explain to you. In 1972, the PLO went to the Munich Olympics to abduct Israeli sportsmen. And then, the Munich massacre, people were killed. Some members of the Palestinian organization were killed. I remember the famous face of Leila Khalid, a female member. The PLO was described as, at that particular period, as a terrorist organization. Fast forward to 1974, 2 years after, Arafat was at the UN General Assembly. The famous speech of the gun and the olive branch. That tells you the progression in terms of the recognition that, yes, the issue of Palestine is key and must be discussed. And that a terrorist organization, which 2 years after became invited to the United Nations. That tells you what exactly happened. Now, fast forward to 1993. 1993 Declaration of Principle, in which, of course, the Oslo Peace Accord was negotiated, and Rabin and Arafat, Rabin was a general of the Israeli Defense Force, agreed for land for peace. I repeat that. 1993, land for peace. So implicitly, what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, despite inflamed passion and the guns that are booming, negotiations will eventually come onto the desk. That is what will happen. I served in the Palm Mission, New York, at the UN, 1986-89. The agenda, like the ambassador will know, of the Palestinian question is the question of Palestine. It's on the UN General Assembly every time. The question of Palestine. Then I was lucky to have been posted and been on ground in Tel Aviv. And I saw it practically. And each time this crisis happens, what happens is that steps are taken to be able to solve. The Intifada was 1993. The Intifada was, of course, another example. During the Intifada, when the young Palestinians rose against Israeli occupation in that place, the Davidian syndrome was reversed. Let me repeat that. The Davidian syndrome. You know the story of David with the catapult against Goliath, killed Goliath, and this time around, it was young Palestinians that were throwing stones against the Israeli APC and, of course, tanks. Eventually, of course, the Intifada. So what happened is that the issue of negotiation and discussion is very, very important. And that is what, of course, even if Rabin, a general of the Israeli army, fought in all the war, came out and agreed on land for peace, what do you expect? I was very much in Israel when Rabin was killed by Yigal Amil. This is the work of extremist group at that particular period. And it was so unfortunate that this happened in the midst of election, which Netanyahu was also contesting. If Yigal Amil had not killed Rabin, perhaps all of this would have moved forward in terms of what it now. So this is what we are saying. All parties, and then let me now go on to the question of Ehud Barak. When I was in Israel, I remember Ehud Barak too Ehud Barak was also, of course, a general of the Israeli. You know, the Israelis have a way of electing former generals to be their prime minister. And I remember there are 3 areas left under the Oslo Peace Accord in terms of for peace. 1, we have the question of the final borders. Where will it be? Secondly, the issues of refugees. Don't forget there are millions of Palestinian refugees outside. And then the third thing was the status of Jerusalem. The status of Jerusalem. And the perception was that the Israelis said they would never, never, never negotiate Jerusalem. But under Ehud Barak, he moved forward and said, look, listen, the possibility of non-negotiating Jerusalem is there. Possibly with the state of Palestine, the eastern part of Jerusalem will be the capital. While since the Israelis also said that it's their eternal capital, they will hold the western parts of Jerusalem. That was what happened. But the point I want to try to make, the question and issues which the ambassador also talked about, the question of saying that all men of Hamas are dead and that they are rolling in the tanks. Will rolling in a tank into Gaza by Israelis, will it solve the problem? Please go and read the Haaretz newspaper article. The Haaretz newspaper is a leftist Israeli newspaper in which the Israeli security forces were indicted because Egypt had alerted that this was going to come in terms of this issue. Haaretz was saying this was a failure of intelligence on the part of the Israelis. So you cannot say that when you roll into tank, you would. Let me say this, and then I'll let the next question. 1982, the Israeli forces IDF pursued the PLO to Beirut because of the question of attacks from that particular city. So when they got to Beirut to try and dislodge the PLO, of course, you know, the question of the Fatah and all that things. When the Israelis were coming back from Beirut, they established a buffer zone in Lebanese territory, about 17 miles into the Lebanese territory. That was where and then they were supported by the Christian Phalangists that was allied to Israel, the IDF. Now, after some times, what now happened, and we need to take note of this, the introduction of non-conventional weapons to the Middle East has changed the games. I repeat, the introduction of non-conventional weapons to the Middle East has changed the game. So the myth of 1967, the Israelis capturing the Golan Heights, capturing the West Bank, capturing the Sinai, is no longer possible. Because when they were coming back, and like I said, the Hezbollah started shooting non-conventional weapons into northern Israel over and above the Israelis' post, the 17. So the 17 kilometers inside Lebanon became useless because the guns were firing over and above, just like we are witnessing now in which Gaza. I mean, in those days, would Hamas have been able to do this? No, non-conventional weapons have been introduced. So we need to all work together to ensure that the guns are silent. The United Nations has a big role to play. Countries that have impact, influence on Hamas, Egypt, and all of that. You know. The Abraham Accord has started. You are familiar with the Abraham Accord, in which the Israelis are getting closer to some of the Arab nations, including Saudi Arabia. Under it, they're exchanging diplomatic relations, ambassadors, and things like that. The Abraham Accord could be a very useful tool, and influential members of the Arab states can try as much as possible. I know that Hamas is close to Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood, in terms of getting things. to be silent. But also, the Israeli side should forget the question of rolling the tank into Gaza. Because, like I said, it was
Ambassador,
quite clear.
Ambassador,
Yes.
two quick questions from arising
Yes,
from
sir.
what you have talked about. Now, given the fact that those countries that ought to have influence on the two sides to this conflict are themselves now lined up behind these two parties in this crisis. How possible is it, do you think, that a question of talks, negotiations, ceasefire will come
Let,
into play? And then,
let
very
me,
quickly, to add to that, is the Abraham Accord. There are those who think that the action of Hamas was actually aimed at preventing the Abraham Accord from taking place.
all sorts of conjectures, all sorts of theories. Let me refer us back to the issues of the Oslo Peace Accord and the issue you raised that people have lined up on the two sides. People during the Oslo Peace Accord, when the negotiations took the two of them behind international headlines to Oslo to discuss, people were lined up on the two sides. People were lined up on the two sides to support the two sides. It was just suddenly the Oslo Peace Accord. I had worked with Teja Larsen. Teja Larsen happens to be one of those people who help in terms of negotiations. And I also worked with Saab Erekat. Saab Erekat, the late Saab Erekat, God bless his soul, was also on the Palestinian side. And of course, Hannah Ashrawi. So people were lined up, just like they are lined up now, in terms of supporting each other. I mean, it's a pity the United States it's not playing a helpful role so far. And then, of course, also on the other side. So the Norwegians took the two sides outside the territory to far away. It's a reflection of the potentials of the small state in the field of international relations and negotiation. They were the one that did it. And ironically, of course, after agreement on the Declaration of Principle, the big boys, the big brothers took the thing away. So they went to Washington, and then Clinton was there. Arafat, of course, signed with Rabin, and of course to give credit, to recognize the role Oslo played. That was why it was given the name Oslo Peace Accord. But they were the wonder. So if it is possible now, a particular small state, I think the Norwegians can still play a role, and a few others, to take the two sides away from the focus, from the wars, from what is going on now, for them to negotiate. Like I said, the PLO was perceived as a terrorist organization before. 1974, Arafat came to the United Nations General Assembly. And I'm sure there are elements even within Hamas or Gaza, because I know that a lot is going on. Let me give you a good example. While I was in Israel, I have two good friends in Bethlehem. They run a restaurant. I think, I'm trying to remember their names. I think George and one other person, And they work closely with the Israeli side. They run a restaurant the profitable restaurant, because religious tourism is huge. Bethlehem is huge in this particular area in terms of what exactly is happening. So that a lot is still going on. There are people on the two sides who can and are still talking to each other. Hamas, the reality, our essential reality is that Hamas is the political PA in Gaza. So if you're talking of democracy, Hamas is the face of democracy as far as that is concerned in Gaza. The West Bank is in the hands of the PA and others, in terms of whatever. So let us also work, and I sincerely, and I'm sure the United States, and I'm sure the United Nations, and a lot of back channels are going on to end this, to silence the guns, and also because it is humanitarian disaster of catastrophic proportion. The two sides have broken the laws of war. I was involved in negotiations in terms of gun, and I was there when the PLO, when the United Nations gave an observer status and recognized the state of Israel, and giving it an observer status. So we've come a long way. And please, let us remember, this is not a war between Christians and Muslims. No. In terms of the Israelis themselves, 92, and when the state of Israel was established, it was not the Jewish state of Israel. It's not the Christian state of Israel. It is the state of Israel, composed of Jewish people, 92%, of Muslims, I think about 18, then Christians, just about 1.9. When I was in Israel, and our pilgrims come, and we get to Bethlehem, and they are hearing Allah Akbar, or we are doing the Maghrib prayer, and they are hearing the call of the call to the prayer to the mosque. They say, we say, look on it. And why are they doing Allah Akbar here in Bethlehem?
Well, Ambassador, unfortunately, we are beginning to lose your
it's
signal.
It's a reflection of the ignorance of most people. Negotiation. Yes.
All right, Ambassador, let's come back to the studio here very quickly as we round off our discussion. You have heard the Ambassador. Is negotiations, ceasefire, and a stoppage to this carnage that is going on right now, is it possible? Is Palestine willing and ready to negotiate?
I'm coming to your question, of course, but just allow me first and foremost to thanks very much, Your Excellency. Thank you so much that you shed light on all of these historical and facts on the ground. Thank you so much. Your voice should be loud and clear, heard in Nigeria, all over the world, because we, the Palestinians, miss this rational voice in many places in the world. Thank you so much again, Your Excellency. Back to you.
Yes.
This is possible. And as he rightly mentioned, His Excellency, Ishaq Rabin, one of the godfather, the founder of the state of Israel, one of the generals who ethnically cleansed the Palestinian people. He have a full responsibility in part of ethnically cleansing the Palestinian people from Lid and Ramle place. Very wide, very big cities at that time. Ishaq Rabin was sit with Arafat. They signed the Oslo Accord with the PLO. The PLO is the legitimate and sole representative of the Palestinian people. Then guess what? As he rightly mentioned, Yigal Amir, and currently, the part of the Israeli government cabinet currently is the student and the colleague of Yigal Amir. Smotrich and Ben Gvir is his colleagues and his fanatic. So that they assassinated Ishaq Rabin. The first message that Arafat mentioned at that time when they told him, listen, Chairman Arafat, Ishaq was assassinated or shooted. He gave just one word. They killed the peace. Period. Is it the peace is possible? Yes, for sure. One word, loud and clear. Let us abide by the international law, the international law, the international law. Let us treat Israel as international community. International community should start to treat Israel as a state not above the international law. They should stop treating it as the spoiled grumpy teenager who can do anything and not with full immunity. This is the point. This is the exact point. Just I'm going to give you a very tiny example. 1956, Israel, France, and the United Kingdom invaded Egypt, and Israel occupied Gaza Strip and Sinai Peninsula. The Americans decided in one word, in one night, this night, you should withdraw. Ben-Gurion, in one night, withdraw from Sinai and from Gaza. In one night. It did not take him one phone call, out. Out. If the international community decided now is the time to put once and forever an end to this tragic is trapping all of us. This is the time to put an end to this tragic. It will happen. Just the international law.
Is Palestine committed? Is Palestine committed
100%
to the two-state solution?
Not only committed, we came to and we accepted to build our state in only 22% of our historical land. PLO recognized Israel. We recognize the state of Israel. We already 30 years ago, we are recognized it, and we start the peace process in one principle, land for peace. They got the peace with everywhere all around the world, and I will not going to name, and we lost everything, even the remaining part of the land.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ambassador.
With much pleasure.
We're all hoping for and praying for peace in your land and in the whole of the Middle East, because
Sure.
this
Thank
has
you
the
so
potential of escalating into a regional conflict.
To do so, it's time for everyone to know more about our cause. His Excellency mentioned many things. It's very important for the Nigerian media to invite His Excellency to listen more about this case, to invite me in person, to take me for interview, for discussion, lectures. I'm ready to tell our part of the story. And of course, to be very fair, to go to the Israeli side and to let them give their opinion in this regard. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well, like Ambassador Ayo Akoni said, this is not a religious war. It
Absolutely.
never was, has never been, and will never be. It is not about Muslims against Christians or Christians against Jews or whatever, because these two states, talking of Israel and Palestine, are multi-religious states on their own. And they have people, they have individuals who are members of these various religions. It is important to stress that. Thank you so much, Ambassador. Ambassador Abdullah Abu Shawish is the ambassador of Palestine to Nigeria. And he's been joined by Ambassador Ayo Lukoni, who is a former Nigerian ambassador to Australia, but also served for 4 long years in Tel Aviv, Israel, as Nigeria's envoy. Thank you so much, Ambassador Lukoni, for your time and for giving us your insight into the situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And to our viewers out there, we thank you for investing your time with us. I hope that you have gotten a better understanding of the situation in Israel and, of course, in the Palestine state. Bye for now. See you again when we bring you a fresh edition of the program People, Politics, and Power.